Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, we're going to prepare a couple of trees for a photo shoot that's coming up. In front of me, I have the Procumbens nana, the Japanese garden juniper that I put together 2 years ago at the workshop that we work on in May for the Minnesota Bonsai Society. This was my tree the day after the workshop that I worked on, so we can watch it grow and change over the years right alongside those that are interested in sending some pictures back and forth and keeping tabs on what's going on. And this one, after fertilizing heavy the first year, fertilizing heavy this year, and cutting back all the big branches so the little back buds could grow, this thing has really bushed out really nicely. So what I'm going to do though is I think I'm just going to slip pot this time around into this round ceramic pot with this patina on here. It's a round pot. It's a little shallow, but I'm going to try to slip pot it in here because it's not the best time to repot this juniper, but it's so lush and healthy. I figure if I can just slip pot it in here, it'll be ready for the photograph. So what's the photograph all about? Well, Minnesota Bonsai Society is doing a really cool thing for its members this year, and it's thrown out there. If you want 2 trees shot, bring it to the location on a Saturday coming up here in August, and you can have a professional photographer take a picture of your tree. This is one of the trees that I was just considering just because it has character, even though it's a young tree. I have a couple other trees in mind, and I'm going to be helping out all day. I'll be able to get pictures of my trees. But we have a little bit of shari in here with some purposeful deadwood in here that I might increase that a little bit here today. And I've got a tree that's really lush. I'll put it in the new pot. I'm going to trim off all the lower hanging branches and try to get a few pads established, just, lightly established. Nothing major, just to see if we can get a really fun picture of this tree in year 2 after 2 years of growth. Now, I also have someone else from the Minnesota Bonsai Society coming on over, and if he's game, we're going to film his tree as well because he has a tree from the workshop that he would like to wire up and make those pads a little bit more prominent. So we're going to tinker around a little bit and see what happens. We'll get this into a new pot, we'll see if we can get pads on mine, and we'll work on his tree as well. If he is okay with being on camera, or at least his backside and his tree. We'll figure that out, but while we're waiting for him, let's get this out of the pot real quick and we'll see if we can get into that pot before he comes. Now, we just had a lot of rain today, so it's really well watered. The roots are nice and watered down. But again, I'm not going to cut any roots on this tree. This is strictly going to be a slip pot from one pot to the next. We might get away some of the soil and give it some fresh soil, but we're not going to be cutting anything away. So I had a lot of exposed roots up top. We might be able to cut some of those off just to make the tree look as pretty as possible. But we're just going to go ahead and get rid of some of the soil here. See what it's got going on, and we're not going to cut any roots down. We're going to get rid of these wires. And so a true slip pot would be to put this thing into the pot as is and just cover it up with new soil. But since I'm here and I have some fresh soil and I want to make this thing as flat as possible in this new pot that's a little shallower, and we'll just give it a little bit of a tease here and get rid of some of this older stuff for some fresh soil. But again, not disturbing the roots to not stress this tree out too much. And again, it's growing so lusciously, it's loving life, it's healthy, so I think we're in a good spot. And let's just see what it's going to look like in this new pot. Of the pots I have, this was the best one I was free that wasn't more of a polished glaze, which we don't typically do with pines and junipers. I like the round shape with this kind of almost oval top here, a little bit of a point here that we can get rid of some of that though. And it sits in the pot really well right there without getting rid of too much soil. So I like that. I think it's going to work. This is a chance for me to get some photograph of a tree. I'm just going to go ahead and use this pot. It's the best one I have right now. My dilemma right now is if I'm going to actually wire this in or just let the rocks do all the work. But because we're going to be moving around in a photo shoot, I think I better be safe and get this thing wired in. That would probably be the best option. So I'm going to go ahead and get some soil into the pot here. We'll get a couple wires in there and we'll be good to go. My decision now is how to angle the tree. If I have it like this, the trunk is straight up and down and we have some curve there. But if I were to go this way a little bit more or the other way, we'd have a little bit more character into the tree. I think I like it slightly that way because of this pad out here. So I got there nice and wired in. We'll give it some bonsai soil. I have the tree all in the pot now. We're going to give it a little water. I think Bo is here. We're going to see if he's willing to add his tree to this video, and then we'll do some finish up trim work in a little bit. We're going to take a photo of this thing in a couple weeks. What are you hoping to do for it? What do you want to see?
Well, I'd really like to see this kind of directional branch. I want it to be look super nice. I think some of this foliage still needs to come off. I'd like to have like a nice cool pad looking here, and this is my most important thing.
Yeah.
Is this kind of right half of the tree.
Sure.
I think that's a lot more developed than what I have on this side. I don't really know exactly what I want to do on this side yet.
Yeah.
So I think that might take a couple more years to really figure out.
Sure.
But I think this side is what I would like to see.
To kind of manipulate, get the pad kind of looking like it's a pad.
Yeah.
And wire it so it's a little bit more looking like a upward pad than droopy.
Yes.
Good.
Very much so. And then, obviously the top, I have no idea what I want to do up here or anything. So. And
some people even put a little wire on that too, just to give it that little, again, we always look for that conical shape.
Yeah.
If you just wired this thing just slightly, all of a sudden you have kind of an apex of this tree, and then it goes down this way instead of being so round and flat. So we could put like a size 1 wire on there, just tweak it a little bit.
Just a little bit.
The one thing too, we're taking a picture. We don't want it to look ugly, so we don't want to put too much wire on, but at the same time we want it to be neat wire and just enhance the tree a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a possibility of putting it in another pot? Do you own any other pots to put it into?
I do have a Cascade pot. I wasn't sure if it was going to be the right time to repot this one, kind of with it only being a year in this pot. I wasn't sure if I should wait maybe another year or two.
It's a great question, and what I just did with mine is I just we call it a slip pot. Mm-hmm. We just take it as it is and kind of put it into the new pot for a photo shoot, for a show at State Fair, just to put it in there, and then we put it back in its pot, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't do a lot of damage to the roots, and we just snug it into that new pot and make it look pretty for the picture, you should be okay. When I slip potted mine moments ago before you came, I didn't cut a single root off.
Okay.
I just took off some of the old soil, spread it out a little bit so I could put it in the pot the way I wanted to, put some fresh soil in there, and it looks like a brand new tree, right? Mm-hmm. And if we can tweak your angle a little bit and put it, you can, and put it in a slightly different pot, that would be great. Second question, of course, did you bring the pot?
I did not bring the pot, unfortunately.
So we have to know, we would have to know a little bit about how you would maybe put it in that pot so we don't bend these the wrong way, right?
Yeah.
But we can do that fairly easily, but just by okay, well, you're going to put it in the pot maybe this way. And then, we're just going to bring this up just a little bit and then make a couple of these, and you'll be able to figure it out when you put it in there. Mm-hmm. Bo came from MBS to work on the tree for the photo shoot coming up, and typically what I always will do with Bo or anybody is to ask what they want to do with the tree, right? We have to think about the tree, we have to think about a future, and you just heard it right there. We're going to try to make some pads a little bit more prominent. We're going to maybe repot it. He'll do that at home on his own, and we're just going to put some wire in here and play with it a little bit. If we're going to look at this branch on the photograph and make this pod pretty, we don't want this there anymore, right? So right now, let's cut that as close to this branch as possible to make a nice, smooth transition from this branch to this branch. Get that one as close to that trunk as possible. There you go. Nice. And just get a little bit more of that little Sharpie point out. Beautiful. Nice. So between now and when we take this photograph, this will get dirty from handling. We can hardly see it already, and we're just going to manipulate this branch that won't be an eyesore. So just things like that. If you're going to go to a show, if you're going to go for a photograph, let's make it look prettier from the get-go. So most of our trees, when we look through our trees and we're getting ready to see a tree on a picture, so we want to see right through the tree as much as we can. You see this dangling down branch right here?
Yeah.
And this dangling down branch right here. Now, if we reposition this at home in a week or so, those might not be so dangling, but they're still pretty dangling. I would go and cut those going straight down. Let's just clean it up and cut anything that's kind of angled down. Let's just trim a couple of those off. So that one can come off. Now, we already have a new window to the world of this tree, right? And if we do take this tree and like do this a little bit, you're going to be able to see this part of your tree and see through it, right?
Yeah.
And so on a photograph, we don't want it to just be solid bush, right? We want to see a tree, right? So we might want to take a wire and just put this up like that, right? So we can do that as well. It's like this branch right here. Super insignificant right now, but cut that one off, just so we can see a little more the bottom of this tree. So that one right there, close to, there we go. You see, we just get rid of some of those low-lying branches like that one right there, right? That's just cleaning up your tree. Any year, any time of year, you can clean some of those off, right? So we want to wire probably,
and I'm not quite sure about this whole thing here. They're like, just maybe gin it and see if you like it or not, and I'm not convinced I really like it anymore.
let's take it off then.
Yeah.
This is a nice gin here, but this comes out at us, and we want to see your tree. We're going to look at this more, especially if we clean it up right now. And this might deter us from this beautiful movement and this gin.
Yeah.
Because this I would move to see this gin, and I want to see that one in the photograph.
Yeah, I like
And
that
depending
one.
on how the light comes in on his photographs, it'd be kind of cool to see that gin. This will take away from it, and that'll take away from it. So let's get rid of those right away then. So I'd use concave. On this one, get as low as you can, and again, when you repot it, you can maybe cut it a little bit lower.
Yeah, do you think with the whole slip pot idea, it'd be best just to keep it at this same angle, so I don't have to worry about shaving down any of that?
It's an excellent point, yeah, for sure. Your slip pot in this, we don't want to disturb it, cause too much stress. It's in really good shape, it's really healthy, so if we just put it in the best angle possible, more flat like this time around, I think we're going to have to do that. That's an excellent point. We're going to try to wire from just above the tape line to at least where it splits here. Probably this branch that we just cleaned up, right?
Yeah.
So we got enough to go around, we got enough to go past.
Try to clean up some of the tape.
Cut this for me real quick. Right about there above my thumb. We'll just cut it there. I think we have enough. Yeah, you go ahead and clean up. And it's always nice to clean up branches when we are wiring, but we got a lot of branch before we even see the finer branches, so I think we're okay. We're just gonna, this will take two people because we have to manipulate and hold that tree. We don't want to hurt that branch either at the same time. First possible bend without damaging that crack is right here. So we can bring it up a little bit there, and we can bring it up a little bit here. Right now we just moved it out of the way a little bit, so it is up a little bit higher. And you're probably going to shorten this one because pads won't have a point to it, right?
Yeah.
All our pads won't have points, so get rid of that guy down to where it kind of bifurcates on its own.
Right there.
There we go. That's a little bit more pad-like. We'll see if we can thin that out, and this one's going to be up a little bit here for a step right over here.
I think having this one being a little bit more like kind of
this level?
This being level, and then this one being kind of just slightly below this plane.
Yeah, it's a nice two planes right there. And we'll twist this one, so these two are kind of flat right here.
Yeah.
And you've got kind of pad 1, pad 2, up here, pad 3, pad 4, and this big one down here, or possibly more than one.
Do you think we could? Would be a plan with this guy? Do you think?
I think these two should either be on the same plane, So they're the same plane but different pads.
Okay.
And then this one's the lower one, and these two are the higher one.
Yeah, I like that.
You see how this here and this here are two different planes already?
Mm-hmm.
We have a nice pad set up there, and we'll get rid of some of this in the middle just to see those pads.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, you could twist this way to make two pads, but then we're losing our wide pad.
Yeah.
So let's just put it this way, cut this tip off. You have a smaller pad here, a nice pad here, and this pad down here.
Yeah.
That's kind of, I think that's what I would do.
From our
We have to do clockwise, so we continue the clockwise spin, right?
Yeah.
So this one has to come over and go this way, and this one has to, okay. Looking at kind of our progress so far, we took a whole branch off the bottom, we took a branch off the side, we've wired, so we have a couple of pre-established pads that Bo's going to go home and repot it into a more of a cascade pot. This was the original gin, and we had a branch right here that was coming up over here. We were going to maybe bring that up. What we decided to do is gin that as well, and this one has such fun movement in it. We're just going to bring this up a little bit higher here. This stays as gin, this stays as gin, and we just have this kind of now cascading branch feel like it's kind of going all through this way. And it took off a lot of the meat in the back. There is one more branch back here that we considered completely taken off. Some past people have suggested bringing it maybe up here and creating a gin up there. Bo's iffy on that, so that branch might just completely come off again too. So I think if we wire this one next, put it in a position we like, and decide what we're going to do with a couple of these branches, then I think it's time for you to repot it, take it home, and see what you're going to like in the future with the new pot, right? Just kind of start at the base down there, yeah, right at that bend right there. There you go. Bring it your way first. There you go. And now take a look at it from the front and kind of see how you want that to jiggle right or left. You could bend it that way, then come back this way because it already naturally does.
Yeah. Maybe kind of like
right there. All right, so now you gave some really nice height to your tree. And I love how this cradles in between here now. Your gin, part of the tree, and then you got your pads over here. And we'll clean up those pads, We have to decide then if we're going to do any movement with just this in general, just to highlight that bottom back branch. It's on its way. It's cleaned up a lot.
I wasn't expecting to take this much foliage off. But,
are you okay with it?
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
fantastic.
It has to happen.
Yeah, and it's good because now you can see the tree more. You can see this real fun. Look at the age on this tree now with these gin and these curvy branches. You got some pads developing. You got it mostly going this way now. You could bring this whole tree in a little bit more this way so it really focuses on this side, because a lot of people in the beginning with cascades and these junipers will have 4, 5, 6 branches growing all different directions, when mainly we kind of want one flow one side to the other, right?
Yeah, I think bringing it into the plane of this,
I
think would be an eventual goal.
And you certainly can, you can take that whole one off or cut it in half. Cut this one in half. Just bring it all in a little bit for the photo shoot, and then be more aggressive next year. Because when you open all this up, if you open all this up, it's going to get thick like mine did, right? And just shoot out new growth, and you can make more decisions with that. But you cut this tip off, cut this tip off, cut this tip off. You're going to flatten it up and make it look a little bit more pad-like. You can leave these a little more pointy, but these will be a little bit more pad-like, especially
because those are at the top.
To complement this, right? I think we should maybe consider stopping there, because you should put it in that new slip it into that cascade pot, put it the way you really want it to sit, and then adjust the wire to make the pads kind of shine, growing up towards the sun.
Yeah, I think this is a great start, and I can definitely work off the work we've done today.
Awesome. But there we go.
That looks so much different.
It does, and I like it better.
Yeah, it looks more mature.
It does.
It looks.
You've just aged the tree by a little bit, I think. By what we did, we aged it a little bit. We cleaned it up so it's easier to look at. It's more fun to look at. It has a little bit more flow to it. And again, if you decide when you repot it to get rid of that, I would not be afraid to get rid of that whole branch.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that
got
one.
Nothing.
It makes it a little bit thin down here because we have nothing down here, but all of this all of this can take over down
Yeah.
the road, right?
Yeah.
That's where we have to see a future for the tree. And that one's coming in from this clunk of branches up here, which is just going to make a big gnarl and big fist up there.
Yeah.
So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 branches growing from that same area. That one's just got to go.
Yeah.
It's not going to be any more good. And then you have this really cool tree that goes this way and then spreads out this way, and then you have the backside here. It's just really fun. And then again, if you want to highlight the gin, get rid of that one, get rid of this one a little bit shorter. You can see that gin even better, right?
Picture
But do that
frame.
after it's in the new pot.
Yeah, just
Right.
make sure you know where it's
Get that angle into that cascade pot. Well, cool. Well, thanks for letting me film this.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll
Thanks for
piece some of it together and add it as highlights, and I'll finish up with my tree. And
that's super cool.
well, that was super cool to have Bo here from the Minnesota Bonsai Society. So I taught the workshop that Bo was at 2 years ago. So the spring of 2021. So a little bit more than 2 years ago. This was the same year I did this tree. So now we're going to work on my tree a little bit and see if I can get this to have a little bit more a semblance of a couple of pads, nooks and crannies, and get this prepared for my photo shoot right alongside Mr. Bo's. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a few cuts to this one as well. So the tree is in its new pot. Now it's a round pot, so it's one of those situations where you want the tree to look kind of good from all angles. This angle it really wouldn't look that great at. But this is a pretty neat angle where you can see the trunk in there and the curvature of that branch in there. And then you can circle around. This is the thick part right here. I didn't quite put it in the center of the round pot, but that's because of this long branch. But we may shorten that up for sure a little bit, and we'll get some of this shortened up. So we're just going to go ahead and see. I don't know if I'm going to wire this at all, or I'm just going to try to clip this into some pad structure. But I might even also add some shari down at the bottom here. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just go ahead and cut off some of these branches that are going kind of up in the air, and a couple that are going down. So just like with Bo's tree, I'm trying to make a little bit of a pad here. And so I'm just flattening out the top, I'm flattening out the bottom, and we're going to just let this thing sit how it is without any extra wire on here and see if it can look a little bit more like a pad. I'm winding down on the trim of this tree. I cut a lot of foliage out, over half of it, exposed a lot of the branches on here. We got this shari here that I might extend a little bit further down. I've got some kind of future potential pads forming, but nothing tremendous. It looks not too bad from this side anymore. Of course, this goes way back and comes back at us. But could chop this thing right here someday and have the movement over there. That's a huge natural S, holy cow. But yeah, we'll just see if we can find the right angle for this photograph. Not one of the most mature trees I have, but like we promoted to the club, nice to just get some images of your tree and then we can have these to compare to. I also considered cutting this off right here. We've got this big long arching thing here. It comes up here for a nice looking pad here, but there's a pad back over here, and that could be the thick to thinner to thinnest here. So for right now, but that would be a really big chop and really noticeable on a photograph, so we're not going to do that today. We're really just making some prunes so this thing is set for, for the next stage of growth too. Looking like a fun front as well. A lot of nice movement and a lot of gnarliness to this trunk down here. So that looks pretty cool too. So that's the nice thing about a round pot. You can spin this thing around. We can get a couple different angles of this tree and see what looks best on camera. And accomplished all of this without any wiring. We'll just let it be all natural this time around. Running low on battery for the camera, so we're going to wrap it up here. My thanks to Bo from MBS for popping on over. It was fun to work on some wiring with his juniper, and it was fun to clean up my little tree for the juniper. Next stage, we'll take some photographs, and I'll eventually maybe show you a picture of the of the professional shot of the tree. So, hey, thanks for joining as always. I hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you very, very soon. Take care of you. Take care of your boat side. And we'll catch you on the next one.